Hi, Matt. I'd love to know about you.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Hounds of Erie Winery.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so a little bit about me. The whole cider and winery thing. That's just one of my jobs. I have a full-time job that I work during the day, during the week, and
Okay.
then the winery is something that I do at night and then also on weekend. And then, addition to those two things, I'm also a PhD student at the University of Waterloo. So I have a lot of hats that I like to wear, and I'm very busy.
That okay. So what's your day job? I'm nosy. So
No, that's fine. Yeah,
yeah.
my day job is I'm a director of a planning department with the county of Brant. So
Mhm.
it's an awesome place to work. We have a fantastic team, and Brant is such a cool place to work because there's so much going on. Like, it's on the fringe of the Golden Horseshoe, the Greater Golden Horseshoe, like that Toronto area.
Mhm.
And I don't know if it's exactly the pandemic that's driving it, but like, boy, do we are we ever busy? Like, there is a lot of people wanting to move to Brant. We have places like Paris and St. George, Mount Pleasant. We've got some really interesting towns within the county, and so there's just a lot of folks that want to move to Brant. So it's good. It's a good time to be a planner in Ontario,
Mhm.
and it's another one of my passions. Like, I have a lot of passions, and I try to do them all. And so far, so good. Like I like I like to do a lot of things, and I like to be busy.
Mhm.
So it's a good lifestyle for me. I think I would get too bored otherwise.
And what's your PhD? What are you working towards?
Yeah. So my PhD is in it's in planning,
Mhm.
but my dissertation is looking at cannabis land use planning from the production end of things.
Okay.
So, rural Ontario right now is being faced with a lot of pressure for cannabis production and processing,
Mhm.
and there's not a lot of provincial or federal guidance for how it's being done right now. So, my studies is looking at how to implement some regulations so that the industry doesn't go like sideways, so that we minimize or completely get rid of the conflict that's being created out in the rural areas of Ontario. So interesting area of study for sure.
Where are you doing that out of? Like what university?
Oh, out of University of Waterloo.
Okay. Is that where
Yeah.
you did your undergrad and your master's as well, or?
Yep, that's right. Yeah, I know the professors there are fantastic, top notch, world class. It's just a great place to study and to really sort of dig in and learn a lot of information. You've got a lot of great mentors there and a lot of experience. So it's a good place to do your studies for sure.
And so then in your spare time, you run a winery.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, we run the. It's not just myself. It's actually it's a whole family affair, to be honest. Like, I am the winemaker slash cider maker, and I've got a hand in the marketing, and obviously I help in the vineyard. Like, I sort of manage that part of it. But my wife runs like the background part of it, all of the books, the finances. She does all of the events. She runs the retail area. She the tasting booths. Um, Between all those things, and then we've got my parents help as well, and her parents help. So it's
Mhm.
a real family thing, and we have friends that come and help. And we've got some great volunteers that come down and help on weekends and that. So we're blessed with the people we have around us and the team we've created here. It is.
So what was it that said that I guess spoke to you and said, "Hey, I have free time in the evenings on the weekends, and I have a passion. I'm assuming for winery because for wine making. What sort of got you into that?"
Yeah. So I started making wine in 2007.
Hmm.
It was just at the time I was just dabbling in a bunch of different crafty sort of things. Anyway, I got to winemaking, and I loved it. Fell in love with it. I wasn't very good at it at first, and it took a lot of trial and error. Like, I've never been to school for oenology or viticulture or anything, right? So everything that I've learned along the way is just between between being self-taught and taught from like experts really around me.
Okay.
I joined a winemaking club in Kitchener Waterloo, and they're called the KW Winemakers Guild, and just a fantastic group of guys. Again, really just surrounded myself with some experienced winemakers, and it became a real passion for me. I started competing regionally and provincially and nationally, and I did well at the provincial and national level, and thought, well, you know what, like I like this. It's consuming a lot of my time. Is there a way for me to get to make this into something more, basically? And with winemaking and cider making, you want to try to control as many of the variables as you can. You don't want to leave things up to chance. So there's a lot of science that goes into winemaking and cider making. So the next step for me was to be able to control the quality of the fruit. That was the next thing, right? That was the last variable that I had no control over because I didn't grow the grapes or apples myself. So my wife and I, we were originally living in Kitchener. We were living basically beside like a Walmart in a fairly dense subdivision. And we moved from there out to here, you know, kind of on a whim. Like it was a idea that we had. I'll be honest, maybe I had it a little bit more, but you know, Mel's very supportive. So we moved out here, and then we had our kids, and we've been raising our family ever since. And no, it's been really good. I've learned a lot along the way, you know, between making, obviously scaling up the batch sizes, and then taking on the whole business end of thing. I've always been a little aspiring entrepreneur my whole life, so this was a good fit for working on that business end of things. We've enjoyed it, and you know, like it's not a big winery by any stretch of the imagination. It's what I would consider like that family boutique size winery. We don't make very much product. I'd say we're in the area of around 20,000 liters a year, something like that.
Okay.
And we're in that threshold of like 10 to 20,000 liters of product a year. But we're at that point now where we have our vineyard. We are producing our own grapes. We're producing our own apples. We're getting the control of the quality, which is where we wanted to be. And we're starting to turn out some really excellent and unique product that you really can't get other places. So that's, to me, like that's what I'm in it for, right? I'm in it for the quality. And so we don't make a lot, but what we do make is really good.
So if I understand correctly, you moved from Kitchener so that you could control the quality of the fruits, like the grapes and the apples, for your hobby, which is obviously you're very passionate about.
Yeah.
And your wife said, yes, let's go and let's do this. So obviously her support for you is like enormous.
Yeah.
Passion
Yeah.
as well, right? And like so blind faith. So what was it about this particular, because you have what, 23 acres? 20, yeah.
Yeah.
What was
Yeah.
it about that area from Kitchener to go to Norfolk? Like what?
Yeah, so it wasn't Norfolk that I was originally looking in, to be honest. I started in the Niagara area because we had at the time I was running a wine tour company that took people from the Kitchener-Waterloo area into Niagara, and we would do tours of all the vineyards there and some orchards, and I was getting a really good understanding, right, of what people like about the wineries.
Right.
And you know, and what people like is the personal touch. They like the fact that you know, you're the owners are around. The owners are there. The person making the product is around. If they have questions, you know, me or Melissa are around to help answer those questions. And yeah, it just adds a little bit more of that that feeling, right, of you're supporting a local business. So we started in the Niagara area, and we're looking at land prices there, and it just was not really in our ballpark. So we started looking at other areas. You know, one of the things that we needed though was a good climate, good soil. I'm a land use planner, so I was looking for permissive planning policy, good value for what we were getting. And so I just started going around. Like I knew the particular areas around Lake Ontario and then Lake Erie. You know, we were looking for those macro climates where we'd be a little bit warmer, so we could sort of push the envelope for what kinds of things that we could grow.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started to look in this area, it was just starting to check all the boxes. We started off by actually having an offer in on a place over by Port Burwell, and this place had been for sale for a little while. And one of my best friend Mark, he's a real estate agent. He's like, yeah, look, there's a place around the corner. You got to come see it. It needs a little work, but have a little vision. And I'm glad he did, because we came here, and he was right. It needed a lot of elbow grease and all that sort of stuff, but we put in all the work and got the place up to tip top shape, and yeah, it
So
all sort of worked out.
well, that's kind of like I mean, not to disrespect the obvious elbow grease that you put in, but I mean, if you look at that in the whole, that Cinderella story of, like, a dream and the support around you to foster that dream, like, from your entire family, I think that's beautiful. And I think that's probably one of the things that attracts people to to support smaller wineries and cideries, that the elbow grease that you put in, because that was sort of like, that was what I was looking at, in some of your Instagram videos and whatnot. It's like, you can tell that you put in a lot of that work in there. So can you tell me a little bit about what you did, and what like you as a family had to do to
Oh,
get that
sure.
ready?
Yeah. Well, so when we moved down here, the house was new, but it had never been lived in. So you can't have a house sit around with being unoccupied, right? It sort of just
Yeah.
starts to fall apart. So we needed to do a lot of upgrades to the house, but there was nothing on the property was just being used for corn, like cash crop kind of thing.
Hmm.
So once we had the 3 foot high grass mowed down, and we kind of figured out where all the landscaping, everything we needed to go, we started by putting some strings out and figuring out, okay, like, we wanted to test the area. I had a pretty good idea of what we could grow based on some of the other wineries around here. And so they were growing certain vinifera varieties. So we started with the same kinds of varieties. We originally put in a row of Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Cabernet Franc, and Riesling,
Okay.
and it went really well. Like, we had on our good years. So a good year to me means a mild winter, right? Because on a mild winter, you're not going to get the death in the vineyard. But we had some good winters, but we had a lot of bad winters. And statistically speaking, we had more bad winters than good winters. So every time you have a bad winter, you've got the vines that die back all the way to the ground, and you're stuck having to regrow up the trunks, basically reestablish the framework of the vineyard. And it got to my point where I was just like, oh, you know what, like, we have to try something different without sacrificing the quality.
Hmm.
I was doing a course at Waterloo at the time, and it was business and climate change. And so what I walked away from that course was, climate change is obviously it's happening, it's around us, but how can we shield a business from climate change? And so I was looking out at the vineyard, and I'm like, yeah, I am not protected from climate change. A cold winter, so seasonal variability where we get these extremes, that's going to continue to happen. It's likely going to get worse. Um, I need to get this business better protected from climate change. So I said, okay, we got to get rid of these vines that are too vulnerable, and we need to invest in vines that are more tolerant of cold, tolerant of the extremes, but can still produce high-end wine. So
Hmm.
that's when I set out to do some research, looked at what other marginal areas in Ontario were growing. Looked at, called up a couple of colleagues at some of the universities in the States that were doing grape breeding programs. And we got involved with a couple of the professors from Cornell and from the University of Minnesota to test some varieties here on our site. And lo and behold, the test went really well. And now we've got some of those varieties here on our site that we're growing. And one of them, for instance, it's called Petite Pearl. It's a red hybrid. So everything we grow now are hybrids. They're considered hybrids. So if you take pieces of vinifera and you take pieces of something more local, and through a lot of crossbreeding, you eventually come up with a vine that has all the qualities of vinifera, but all the resistance of something local.
Hmm.
And so that's what we're looking at out there now. So we have Petite Pearl and Frontenac Blanc and Marquette and Lackady Blanc, and we've got all kinds of different ones out there. But we've even got some experimental stuff that doesn't even have a name yet. It's just numbered right now. So and we'll continue to test those and see how they go. And if they don't go well, we yank them out and we try something different. And I've done that over the last decade. I've experimented with a lot of different things, and some things have been successful and I've expanded them, and some things have been a flop, and you yank them out and you try again, right? So it's been interesting. It's been fun.
So from the time that you purchased the property to when the time that you started the winery, how long? What was that sort of turnaround?
Yeah, so we purchased the property in 2012, and we started the winery as a virtual winery in 2015. So what a virtual winery means is you're working through another winery's license.
Mm-hmm.
So we created our own brand, we created our own marketing, and then we had all of our equipment at their facility. We made the product at the facility because of how all the licensing works, and then through their license, it was sold retail. So that's what got us started. And the local winery here is called Blueberry Hill. The winemaker there is named Nick Franks. If you get a chance, also have a little chat with him. He's also a great winemaker, great cider maker. So we started there, and then got to a point where we were making a lot of product, and I was running out of room, and we needed a new spot. So we've got a drive shed here, which we're using as sort of a make do winery for right now. But the plan is to build a more formal establishment on the other side of our property. So what we have now is sort of a temporary solution. And even where we are now, we're getting too full. Like we're kind of busting at the seams. There's no more space to make any more things, and I've got a vineyard that's keeps making more and more grapes, and I'm like, oh, like we need to figure something out. It's a good problem to have, right? Like, but you never want to build something and then not use it. The way we're doing it is actually like it's a smart way of going about it. I'd love to be able to just build a new facility, stock it with all the most latest equipment and everything, but it's very expensive. Like all of this is super, super expensive. So it's a very slow process, but that's okay. I'm not in a hurry. And the way I'm looking at this now is, we're building this basically for, at some point I'll retire from government, and I'll do this more full time. Like, not that I'm not doing this full time. I feel like I have 2 full-time jobs, but I'll just do this just more. Maybe have some time to put my feet up and maybe enjoy some of that wine I make. But
Take like one evening off, maybe a week or something like that.
yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Even when I do that, I feel guilty. I just like, you go to bed and you're just like, oh, like I should have been doing something tonight.
When did you start incorporating ciders?
So that was right away. Funny enough.
Okay.
So we started the winery virtually, and the plan really was to just do wine. We never really intended to get into cider, but I had a recipe for a cider that I had made as an amateur. And because we didn't have our own vineyard yet, I wasn't interested in making wines that weren't from our grapes.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew some apple growers locally. So we started with the cider. So I got the recipe out and crafted a pretty small batch. I think we started with like 1,000 liters or something like that. And it was an instant hit. I think we won in that year. I think we won best cider in Ontario at the Fruit and Growers Convention down in Niagara. And it's been great since. And since then we've introduced a few more ciders. We've got our estate cider now because we've got our local apple trees like on site. And that one's an interesting one because it's got 21 varieties of apples in it. So it's very, very complex. And one of my favorite ciders, although like I don't know which one's my favorite anymore. Like this year I feel like everything is competing for my favorite. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Well, that's a good problem to have, though.
Yes. Yeah, it is good. It's important to like everything you make, right? So and I do. I quite like everything I make. I just don't have any time to enjoy it.
So the apples you get, you said they're still from a local orchard?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I would say, let me think, 3 of our ciders are made with Norfolk County apples. And then one of our ciders we make with just our estate stuff. So, and I shouldn't say actually just Norfolk. We also get apples from the region of Waterloo as well. The Martins out there help us out with supplying us with certain apple varieties.
Nice. And
Yeah.
you said that you first started in retail. So was that just in the Norfolk area, or was that just like from, yeah.
Yeah, so originally when we started with the virtual winery, we had a little sort of space out of the Blueberry Hill
Mhm.
winery. So we had our own cupboard area there where we would sell our product, and that went well. And but we got to the point where we're like, we need more space. So once we moved here, um, retail was tough because like that our winery is not very large,
Mhm.
and we looked at, do we have retail inside, or do we try something different? And so um, before the pandemic really had even started, we were already thinking about this. We were like, we have to move our retail and our tasting area outside. We don't have any space inside. And so we were already starting that plan, and then the pandemic hit, and it was just the right thing to do. So we moved our retail, our tasting area, like, so there's no, like, the public actually has no access to the winery anymore, which is fine. But you still see, and there's windows and stuff you can look in, but everything's outside now. So the nice thing now is that even with the pandemic as it is today, we can still do tastings. There's certain rules and everything that we have to follow, but as long as we're following all of those restrictions, technically speaking, like, we're still good to go. So it's interesting, and we've set up all kinds of things over the last year to adapt to the pandemic. For instance, we have a 25-minute walking trail that we've created, a virtual self-guided tour that we created for people to come here with their dogs. They grab a cider or a wine, and then they go for a walk for like 25 minutes, and they take a little tablet with them, and it's me speaking very robotically because I wasn't terribly prepared for the video. But anyway, it's good. They get to walk through the vineyard and sort of experience everything that happens in different parts of the vineyard, and sort of how things change over the season, and where things end up. So it's an interesting experience for people. And this year we're expanding that to probably like a 45-minute walk. We're putting in a road around the perimeter of the property. And yeah, we've got some other really interesting things planned for this year too that we're going to implement. Mostly just be out of expansion purposes, but it's all very COVID friendly. And the idea is to try to create a space here for people to get away from the city. Our experience coming here has been fantastic. It's so calm and peaceful down here, and I'll go back and visit the city, and it's great when I'm there. You're there for a few days, and you're just like, ooh, boy, like, it's busy. It's like you remember it, and you're like, time to go back home, and you just yeah, it's nice. So trying to get that experience here, and for people to come down here and be able to feel that same sort of calm and tranquility that we get to experience every day.
Any chance that with COVID and everybody wanting to buy online, I know you deliver locally to the Norfolk, but for those of us in the GTA, is there any chance getting
We're
any?
trying. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're trying to find a delivery option so that we can get out to the rest of Ontario.
Hmm.
But the delivery rates have just gone bonkers over the last couple years. We used to be able to get packages outside of Norfolk, for about $20,
Yeah.
and now we're looking at $30 to $60, depending on like where you are in Ontario. And it's just like I feel bad charging people that amount of shipping when when a case of cider's somewhere between $70 to $80. I'm like, oh, like, it's hard to bite that bullet, right? So the big thing is I try to encourage people to just come visit us. We're a little bit off the beaten path, but we're closer than Niagara, than to most of the GTA. So and it's great. Like, we've got beaches down here. There's so much to see and do. There's a lot more than just the wineries. We've got farm breweries. Long Point is just around the corner. We've got great fishing, lots of recreational stuff to do. So make a day of it. Come to the beach, come to the winery, bring the dog, bring the family. So
That's a great commercial. I love it. Now, what came first, the dog, because yeah, it's a Great Dane, right? Because
Yeah, that's
yeah.
right. Yes. So all of our marketing is actually like it's all based around our original Great Dane. His name was Rohan. He was a big blue Great Dane. And so he lived a long, full life. When we moved out here, I'm pretty sure living out here helped to extend his life. So he lived to be about 10 years old, which is pretty old for a Great Dane.
Mhm.
And then in between Rohan and the dog we have now, we had another Blue Dane who unfortunately had an accident out on the road, which was a bit of a shocker for us. But since then, we've now put up a big fence around our around the whole front and the perimeter of the property. So, you know, we just said we wouldn't want that to happen to anyone else's dog. So we put the fence up, and so now we feel a lot safer with our own dog and with other people's dogs too. And so now we've got another Great Dane. We're Great Dane people. If you've ever been around one, it's like they you know they have a real presence in a room. Obviously, right? They're big dogs, but they're also big goof heads as well. Like they're not the smartest breed in the world, but like they're just hilarious to be around. So our new dog now, his name's Theoden, and he's about 8 months old, and he's a very calm, gentle dog. And yeah, we're looking forward to having other dogs come down. The downside to all the pandemic stuff is this, that it's very hard to socialize dogs these days, hard to get out, right? So we've created a safe place here for people to come and bring their dogs with them. And we have a lot of folks that come fairly often. They bring their dogs, and the dogs just rip around and they love it. They think the vineyard's an obstacle course for them. So they're weaving in and out and they're having a great time.
My puppy is 8 months old as well. It's a mini golden doodle, and you hear a lot about the lack of socialization for puppies, and it's absolutely true. I mean, when I live in the city, and my puppy is scared of everything, and he hears the noises all the time, and he has like his social skills are just, well, they're just non-existent, right?
Yeah.
So that's why, I mean, I think one of the big things when I saw that your dog days, and I hopefully we can talk about that too, but the dog days event was, fingers crossed, if there's no
Yeah.
more lockdown, we can go ahead and have it. But
I
I just
know.
thought, like, it's so important for them to socialize. I mean, it's just an aspect that I don't think, I think if you don't have a puppy during the pandemic, you don't realize how important it is. So even just now, I mean, he was just starting to get comfortable with people, and then he had to get neutered and he has the cone on, so he's got one more day of
Yeah.
that, so he's on exercise restriction, right? So the most
Yeah.
he can do is like sit on the porch and look at people, and he's just sort of getting introduced with that again. So yeah, so I was like, when I saw the dog days event, and I scrolled down, and I like literally went, oh my gosh, they have a doodle day. And
Yep.
you know, um, just to put it out there, doodles and poodles can all be friends.
You know, it's
I,
weird. I don't know why there's so much hostility online about this, because like it's funny. I'm in the middle of like posting some of this stuff, and I'm getting comments. People are like are commenting on the post, and it's like, my poodle will not be attending the day the doodles are attending. And I'm like, oh, okay, calm down. Like, they're all dogs. And but it's hilarious though how particular people get about some of this.
oh, I gotta tell you, it's funny. Well, funny, but not so funny. But we have a cider chat. We do. I host a cider chat each month, and so love to have you the next month. It's on Saturday, May 1st. But we have different cider makers coming, and just different people from all over the world. It's just a Zoom chat. We'd all just chat about things. And the interesting thing is, this past Saturday on April 3rd was our Zoom chat, and we had one of the cider influencers from New York, and the cider he was drinking was Best in Show.
I saw that one of
Did
our
you?
old bottles of Best in Show.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
got it from when he came for a trip here, and I was like, "Are you kidding?" And then we actually, because Jana from Rice Lake she was following your dog day event as well, and I brought up the fact that doodles and poodles, and everyone knew about that, and it was like, are you kidding? It's an event. We're this is COVID. We're trying to have fun. You're trying to do something nice for us. I mean, I'm just like, I think as soon as I saw that, and I was like that person that messaged on Instagram right away, and I went to Eventbrite, and I'm like, I need the tickets for Doodle, and I sent that to like everyone I know who has dogs, because it's like, it's so important. So, but I just thought that was interesting that he had Best in Show.
Yeah, and the cool part about it is, and I don't know if they know this or not, but that bottle must be like 3 or 4 years old. So the fact that it's held up that well over that time, I don't know. Like I didn't think it would last that long, to be honest. Like when people ask, how long will the cider last? I say, oh, probably about 2 years. But normally it's not a problem for people to drink it right away. But I when we saw that, I was like, I don't think that's ours, because it's in a wrong color bottle. And then I was like, oh wait, that's one of the old ones. So yeah, interesting.
Well, Bethany and Barry had the same bottle too. They were there too, from Cider Creek and Ciders of Canada. Yeah, yeah, it was like a little
Okay.
cheer. So and I was saying, I was like, and y'all didn't even know I'm going to be talking to Matt this week. So that was
Yeah.
good. That was quite interesting.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, and the only reason I say they don't hold up that long is there's not a lot of preservatives in cider, at least not our ciders. And so it's like beers that don't have preservatives, right? Like they
Yeah.
just don't last. I'm drinking that kind of thing.
So what are your future plans? Anything that you can leak out to us, or?
Sure. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you've already mentioned the dog days of summer, so that's a big thing for us this year. So we recognize that there are a lot of folks looking for a place to bring their dog. And dog people like to hang out with other dog people, and it's a bonus if you can hang out with the same breed as what you have, right? So we put together this event. So every Sunday from May 2nd until the middle of September, there is a breed specific meetup here at the winery, and it starts with huskies and malamutes. And it's a big range, because there's so many different dog breeds, and I wish I could have them all, but unfortunately I can't. And unfortunately we had to combine some breeds together, and I got a little slack for that, but it is what it is.
Wasn't for me. It wasn't for
No.
me.
Yeah. But it's I'm really looking forward to it, because we are dog people, and we've got some regulars that come and they bring their dogs, and we love seeing them. And yeah, it really makes the place very unique to have so many dogs running around here all the time, and it's all laughs. It's all great, good times here. So the Dog Days of Summer is a big one, big new one for us. We are looking to get a food truck here this summer.
Mhm.
Still working to confirm that. We've got someone in mind. Just trying to sort of close the loop on that. And then another thing that I said, we're putting in the extra long walking trail.
Mhm.
So we're making arrangements for that. And then as part of that walking trail, there is actually going to be a cabin at the back that people can rent, dog friendly. It's like a glamping site. So for people who are coming out of town that they want to stay the night or stay 2 nights, it'll be it'll be an option. Now it's nothing fancy. It's a glorified tent is what I'm going to be advertising it as, because it's not big. It's quite small, but it'll be very interesting and very unique. So working on getting that all ready to go for hopefully June. We'll see. Other than that, we've got some new products coming out shortly. We created a late harvest Riesling wine. So and it's got a little dachshund on it, a little wiener dog on the label, and it's not quite as sweet as what ice wine is, but it's sweet. So for those sweet wine lovers out there, this bottle's for you. It's 375 milliliters, gorgeous golden color. If you like Riesling, it's quite delicious. And what can I tell you? It's going to retail it for just under $20. And I don't expect it'll last forever, because we didn't make that much of it. We didn't have a whole lot of product to make it with. So looking forward to getting that one out.
Nice.
Yeah, and then we've also got, and this isn't a surprise, but we also have our white blend. So that one's called the Hound in the Hare. So it's a combination of three different kinds of grapes. There's a Riesling, Frontenac Blanc, and Lacadie Blanc. So we still have some of our 2019 Hound in the Hare available, but the 2020 is going to be available at the same time. Looking forward to releasing it because it is very Riesling dominant this year. So there's some differences between our 2019 and our 2020. And so normally a winery would they'd hold back the newest vintage until the last vintage was just completely sold out. But these are so different that I just thought, you know what, we'll have them both out there at the same time, and people will buy what they like, and that'll be that. So we'll see how it goes.
So the way to purchase is just in person, right?
The way to get that one, yeah.
Yeah, to purchase them all. Okay.
You got to come on down to the winery.
All
and
right.
Look,
all right.
we're going to have a little cabin for you to stay in if you need a place to crash.
It's all set, right?
I'm particularly looking forward to seeing everybody again this spring and summer and fall. It's nice having people around. I guess, yeah, it's the other nice thing about having this kind of business is that you get to see lots of people, meet lots of people from different places, and everyone's got a really interesting story to tell. So
yeah. And so if people want to come visit you now with COVID restrictions, what would be the process if they wanted to come to
yeah, so just like any essential business, face masks are required. Keep your 6 feet apart. So we've got sort of dedicated areas if people want to do tastings. There's no sit down, so the patio is closed. But if you just wanted to do a tasting of the product, we've got these little designated spots. You've got a stand and you do your tasting with just whoever you're there with. And, we bring the product out to you. Everybody's face masked up. We've got, the visors and everything. We keep track of who's been here, just in case, the tracing element is quite important. And yeah, we just, that's the way we've got it set up. And then we've got, when somebody wants to buy something, to let us know what they want. And it's just that we prefer, credit card tap thing if we can. We will accept cash, but the tap thing makes it a little easier. And then put it out on a barrel, and then they take it away, and away they go. And then if they want to stay a little longer, like we do have our walking trails open for people who bring the dogs and that.
Mm-hmm.
If people wanted to go for a walk, that's always available. Lots of space out there, and it's
Okay.
So lots of space, breezy, sunny, easy to get along with. So it's all good.
Nice. So they don't have to book a time or anything like that to come. They can just.
No, I think the big thing now, so that's how we had it all set up last year. Last
Mm-hmm.
year it was required to book a time if you were going to do the self-guided tour. And we had them set like an hour interval. So there was really, when we had it set up like that, you would never even see anybody. You would get there, the other people had already been gone. But the way it's working now, we just have to make sure that we follow those other restrictions, and then we should be good.
Great. But this has been so informative. I've learned so much. I think knowing so much about like your background and your passions and everything else that you bring to it, and then with your family, I think that just lends itself so well to wanting to know more about the winery and the cidery, because the wines and the ciders, I think, to me are a little bit secondary to who the winemaker and who the family and the owners really are, because the environment that you cultivate, I think, and that passion translates into what you make. So I'm so excited to come. I cannot wait to come and have a tour and bring my pup and see the cabin, stay there for a while, and to meet you and Melissa in person. I think that would be great. And Theoden,
Well, you'll have to be here. We have a Great Dane Day, and I think there's 40 dogs registered, I think. And it will, like, you will hear them out in the vineyard running, because it, like, with that many Danes, it almost shakes the ground a little bit. So it's quite interesting.
It's like, who needs pony rides, right? We'll just
Just strap up the dogs. Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I know you don't have a lot of time, so I
Oh, no
thoroughly
problem.
appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it. We've been following you there for a little while, and I'm glad you're doing what you're doing. It's nice that you're putting the cider on the scene.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you
Well,
so much.
looking forward to meeting you in person this summer.
Great. I look forward to it.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks
Yeah.
so much,
Take
Matt.
care. Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye.
Bye bye.